Thank you very much. It's just following from Wolfgang's speech. I mean, a few years back, I would probably have agreed with everything Wolfgang said. I mean, when I started to have my web pages and web servers, of course, living in Turkey, I thought that it would be a good idea to set my servers outside my legal jurisdiction, out of the reach of the governmental authorities. So they're all based in basically Toronto, Canada. But of course the internet itself started to evolve, and you need to unfortunately follow where the audience is. And the audience basically switched to microblogging first, and then of course the social media platforms that I will be talking about today. So you need to be present where the audience are, and you need to use social media platforms, especially for open journalism, for what I also refer to as citizen journalism, and sorry, that one, right. And you need to have a presence. But when I started to look into more detail, especially since I returned back to Turkey from the UK, I realized that the authorities are not very pleased about presence on social media platforms. I'll tell you a little bit about the role and importance of new media, new intermediaries, especially the social media platforms. And as you all well know, and Wolfgang already stated, global access, regardless of frontiers, for all social media platforms, wide participation and usage. Millions of people are on social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and others as well. Of course, this is a boon for political speech, political and social activism, and they all enable us new tools for distribution of content, especially, for example, YouTube, for documenting human rights abuses, video footage published in many places around the globe. I just put an example there with regards to a video which was posted during August 2010 in Pakistan, which was not shown in media, but then it was put on YouTube. Similar human rights abuse videos are constantly uploaded to YouTube platform and others like Vimeo and Meta Cafe, and as you know, there are several other similar platforms. So these tools enable citizen journalism and access to alternative and dissenting views. And there are several this kind of sources that I personally follow with regards to obtaining important information with regards to Turkey that I cannot obtain from newspapers or from television channels, especially, for example, during the events of the Gezi protests that took place during last year. So they are very important for us, but as Dunya rightly so asked, what are the limitations of these new intermediaries and social media platforms? They are, we have to accept the fact that they are private rather than public environments, and therefore they, to some extent, their policies lack transparency, and there are important question marks about their accountability, and unfortunately terms and conditions apply and exist, not just contractual terms of service, but community guidelines as well as complaint and removal policies in terms of content, and you may have experience, but they also have in certain cases limited rights for users, and their complicated policies. You don't find where your privacy policy is. Think about Facebook, how it changes constantly its guidelines and policies, and users could face suspicion or closure of accounts, and in most cases you wouldn't even have a right of appeal. So I have been told to slow down. I think that's for the benefit of the interpreters. So apologies for that. But then I will be hassled by the moderator. So I'll try to get the right balance for that. Anyway. what about the legal status of the new intermediaries? Of course, there's a question mark. Free from governmental control, regardless of frontiers, based in California, the likes of Twitter or Facebook or YouTube. But again, another question mark whether national laws and regulations apply. But even though if the national laws and regulations do not apply, they could be subject to blocking and filtering. And I would say that it would be a significant democracy deficit in the countries in which social media platforms are blocked or filtered. And in my country, both Twitter and YouTube have been subject to blocking recently, as early as this year. Twitter between late March and mid-April, and then YouTube again late March until end of May. Complete blockage, not just a few accounts, but the whole of the platforms. And unfortunately, for users, it wasn't that straightforward to just go to a proxy or change DNS servers and rely on Google's DNS servers or open DNS servers, for example, because the authorities, the telecom authorities, hijacked for the first time the DNS servers. And so it made it completely impossible for most people, I say, because then again, of course, you can use VPN if you know how to use it. And I can tell you that Turkish people are very much advanced in using these technologies. And although not many people know how to use VPN technology, everybody had VPN on their mobile phones installed. But again, it requires knowledge. So what we did, what you could do, you lose your audience if you can't access Twitter or Facebook or YouTube. And based on several different court decisions, an administrative body called TIB blocked access to Twitter. So together with my colleague Kerem Altıparmak from the Ankara University, we directly went to the Turkish Constitutional Court and lodged an individual petition jointly. And that resulted the removal of the blocking decision involving Twitter. As you can see from the Turkish newspapers, that blonde lady took more space than Twitter decision of the Constitutional Court on the front page of different newspapers. Then, similarly, the government also requested blocking access to YouTube. And both platforms, this is important, both platforms were blocked access to the Turkish audience prior to an important local election that took place on the 30th of March. So there was significant political debate going on, especially about the 17th of December 2013 corruption investigations. So the availability of these platforms were crucially important, but they weren't available, even though the Constitutional Court rightly so removed these bans. But other platforms remain, for distribution of content, remain blocked from Turkey, like Script, for example. You must know what Script is. Because of a copyright violation, it has been blocked since March 2013 from Turkey. And when we start talking about the legal status of new intermediaries, continue to talk about that, it's not just the governments that I'm concerned of, because certain social media platforms like Twitter now complies with several local court decisions from around the globe and enforces its dubious country without content policy in relation to Turkey, Japan, Russia, Pakistan, among others. So it developed a policy which basically, which I will show you, that makes Twitter to comply with these decisions. So even if I use a proxy or something else, I might not be able to see that content because Twitter might have removed that content itself or blocked access to it. So liabilities issues are not clear, and notice-based or otherwise liability issues remain for the new intermediaries. And in some countries, again, there may be criminal liability for third-party content. I put a Turkish newspaper coverage there. Ekşi Sözlük stands for Sour Times, It's a popular text-based social media platform from Turkey. Only Turkish people use it. And its founder and president received a 10-month suspended sentence for the dissemination of content violating religious values. He did not go into prison, but he was found to be responsible for the third-party content published on these platforms. And as you know, they face several law enforcement requests. Some transparency is provided by these platforms. For example, this is what Google publishes on its websites about governmental requests to remove content. Twitter started doing that. As you can see, there's a serious increase in relation to these requests, and majority of those requests, as you can see here, that come from Turkey for removal of content. And Twitter, as a result of this, started to use this country withheld content policy. So they withheld tweets. If you live in a country like Turkey, you might come across a lot about this tweet withheld or username withheld. So not just the individual tweet, but the whole of that Twitter account being blocked. And again, another good thing is that Twitter started to publish not all, but certain court decisions that it receives from around the globe on the Chilling Effects Clearinghouse website. So we get some insight into what might be subject to removal or blocking or subject to the use of the country withheld policy. So some of these accounts I showed you, they're from Turkey. You can see this account was followed by 538,000 people, and it has been subject to a withheld statement from Twitter. So if you're based in Turkey, what you see is not that account, but this withheld notice. And it says this account has been withheld in Turkey. So that's all you see with regards to that account. Another one, and these are popular accounts that were very critical about the Turkish authorities during the corruption investigation that started on the 17th of December 2013. It's not just Twitter, though. It's Facebook. Facebook also removed several accounts owned by Kurdish members of the parliament during last year, and they claimed that they were all associated with the terrorist organization PKK, even though they weren't. And another example is that to show you how important and significant is to be on these social media platforms, Ötekilerin Postası means others post, and it's an alternative media source in Turkey. Their account has been removed, closed a month ago for the 9th time by Facebook. They insist to be on Facebook because they say our audience is there, we need to be present on Facebook, but Facebook constantly blocks and removes their pages, and the reasons are not clear and non-transparent. So again, when we look into in detail, which you can also look at yourself, Facebook started to publish some information about the amount of content they remove. You can see here compared to 3 pieces of content restricted in the UK and 4 in Russia. 2014 pieces of content has been restricted in Turkey by Facebook. And during the Gezi protests of last year, and since the Gezi protests of last year, we also started to come across several people, citizens, not necessarily alternative media sources, but people have been subject to criminal investigations and prosecutions, and certain lawyers subjected to administrative investigations by bar associations, and certain students again subject to administrative investigations by their universities for tweeting or for distributing content through social media platforms like Facebook and YouTube. This news coverage is from an ongoing prosecution taking place in Izmir, in which 29 youngsters are being prosecuted currently for tweeting. So there are lots of question marks, not many answers, but liability issues remain and they need to be clarified. And in terms of notice-based liability and notice and takedown provisions, the EU e-commerce directive remain in place. They had an attempt to modify or update the e-commerce directive provisions, but I think it's not going to go forward. And there is some hope at the European Court of Human Rights level. The Delphi Estonia case, which is currently at the Grand Chamber on appeal from a lower section, that might clarify issues surrounding notice-based liability. So you may want to dig into the Delphi case and have a look at that. And unfortunately, despite the decision of the European Court of Human Rights with regards to the case of Ahmet Yildirim versus Turkey, blocking policies and legal provisions are deployed within the Council of Europe region and other countries. So gatekeeper liability policies may have a chilling effect on freedom of expression. And in my view, especially the social media platforms remain the weakest link in the so-called multi-stakeholder approach to internet governance. So there needs to be more work done in relation to these private zones or the social media platforms. As again, it will be mentioned later on, but the right to forgotten decision of the European Court of Justice, again, that needs to be looked into and puts more pressure on companies like Google and probably others in the short term. So I'm not that optimistic about the future, and especially from where I come from, the future with regards to internet governance and, of course, open journalism, because we all rely on these platforms, and I insist that I want to be on these platforms so that I can disseminate information and actively participate to social and political debate rather than going elsewhere. So thank you very much.